That's why I think, honestly, why part of the reason our YouTube does so well is because Josh hunted his whole life. I did not. So we kind of take it from a very educational side of things. Like, okay, if this video was the first introduction to someone hunting, would they love it or would they hate it? Did we do a good enough job explaining the education, the conservation, how we eat all the meat, the donations, just all of the things that we aren't taught? And so that's when I was growing up and when I met him, it wasn't that I was like this anti-hunter, throwing blood on people with fur coats. It was just like, I just didn't agree with the meatpacking industry. And I think that's something that a lot of hunters like hold true is like,
that's why we love to hunt the most. Yeah.
Right.
We don't want to eat that shit.
We know where our meat comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really cool. Like when you can actually sit down and have a mature conversation with someone because you're not both coming from an emotional place where you can say, this is why I hunt. Hey, I was a vegan when I met Josh. He wants me to write a book, Vegan to Bowhunter, because it's so wild. I started taking notes. Yeah.
Or a podcast.
Just something.
That sounds like a good podcast.
It does. Vegan to Bowhunter. That'd be pretty cool.
But it has been cool on social media to just see and receive so many messages over the last 10, 11 years from people, like, especially women. My boyfriend or my husband hunted. I never had an interest in it, but because like I see your guys' videos and I see your content and you just explain it in a way that's not like, oh, if you don't shoot deer, then fuck you. No, it's like, this is the conservation side of things. This is the education, the meat. These are all the recipes. This is how we're helping. We're donating. And it just gives like such a different perspective. And then you've got the hunt itself, especially bow hunting. I mean, 99% of the time you're not killing anything. So you're just out there enjoying nature.
People think we're just killing shit every time we go out there. I'm like, dude, I wish.
Dude, it's a miracle every time we kill anything.
Yeah, and then like especially filming stuff, like the amount of times the camera has saved an animal because we want that memory. And if it's not perfect, it's not going to happen, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, when I met Josh, our first like date was at the Arnold convention, and we're going through the food court line, like big spender over here. And
I know.
Yeah, wow.
I really went all out on you.
And I'm just ordering vegetables. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a vegan." He's like, "Well, I've been a bow hunter my entire life, so this ain't gonna work." Literally said, "This isn't gonna work.
This isn't gonna work." First date. Sorry, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it's so funny to think that's where it started, and now you have probably more world records than any other female in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like though? Like were you just accepting to it right away, or did you like try to fight it?
No, I was very like I said, I wasn't against hunting. I just had no one who would ever.
But I'm talking about you hunting. Where is it something that you were like, I don't know? Because I know with my wife, I can't get her, like she'd rather put a cup over the spider and let the spider just suffocate in that cup.
No, I mean, I think I was just
I'm honestly that way too. If I'm not hunting it, like I'd rather let the bug out.
Right.
But this is a really great story. I have to share your first experience, not the first hunt, but my first introduction to you with hunting.
Okay.
It's going to take hardly any time, 30 seconds. So we meet in March. And she's like, well, I want to go get into hunting.
Now, wait, I do feel like I was so accepting of it because I was like so in love with you. And I was like, I'll do anything for you. Like, yes, please. Like, I'll conform to whatever you want me to. I just like,
this is true.
But I did have an interest in archery. It was really cool how he explained hunting to me. It was just from a very rational point of view. And that's just how my brain works. I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
I think it would have been different if he was like a rifle hunter and it's just
possibly. Yeah, for sure.
Which nothing against, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with rifle hunting. I'm just saying that like,
sounds like it.
I'm just
crossbow hunter. Ew.
Every time I run into people that are like, you killed that big mountain lion. And like, how'd you kill it? And I'm like, with my bow. And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
right.
Wow. So you got close. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 11 yards from a fucking 200-pound mountain lion staring at me in a tree, and I shot in the chest.
It's the only thing you've ever held that made you feel small.
Yeah.
So,
well, dude, it was picking him up. I was like, holy shit! I couldn't believe
huge
it.
Cat.
Yeah, he's right there up in that picture up behind you.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, that's wild.
By the way, that picture, I've seen you in person, and you make me feel like a toddler, and I'm 6'3", 240, and I feel like a baby.
Ass dude.
I feel like a baby next to you, and I'm like looking at that picture of that cat, and it makes you look like a baby.
Yeah, he made me feel small.
I'm like, whoa, it's just insane.
Yeah.
But I mean, oh my gosh, I have to tell this story now.
Yeah,
I have to. This is so funny. And guys, I'm going to tell this with 100% truth. So March comes, she's like, well, I want to go bow hunting. And I'm like, well, turkey season's coming.
I didn't actually have a choice, I don't think.
Well, I said, well, turkey season's coming. I'm like, it comes in April. You have no chance of learning how to shoot a bow by April. So you're going to use a shotgun. I said, well, go out, get your first kill, and then we can eat it together. It'd be cool. So I'm like, well, here's my turkey gun, 12 gauge, 3.5 inch turkey load.
I've never shot a gun.
Choke.
I've never shot a gun.
Never shot a gun before. So I sit her down like this. I put out the turkey target, and I sit there, and I acted like I loaded it because I wanted to see how bad she'd flinch pulling the trigger, right? And so I fake load it, and I'm like, all right, put your head all the way down until all you can see is the bead. If you could see any of the barrel, you have to put your head lower. And then she's like, okay, I could just see the bead. Okay, now put the bead on the turkey. I'm like, all right, now just slowly pull the trigger. And I'm waiting for her to go like that, you know? She goes like this. Click. Doesn't fucking blink. Not a blink. I'm like, you're a serial killer. This is freaking crazy. She's like, why didn't it go off? I'm like, how did you not flinch? I was like freaking out.
Everybody flinch.
Everyone. She was like stone cold. Click. I'm like, whoa. All right. So then I load it, and and it just freaking rocks her. I mean, she falls back, and she's like, oh my God, that was horrible.
Awful.
And I'm like,
were you sitting or standing?
Sitting.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, and I was also probably 40 pounds lighter than I am.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it
100
rocked
pounds.
me.
I mean,
It doesn't matter. That thing rocks me still.
Yeah.
You shoot that. It's like, oh, shit.
She's like, I'm like, you missed. You got to shoot again. I'm like, oh my God. So she shoots again. It just, she's like, she's like, fuck this. We're going and buying a bow right now. I'm like, okay, you have no chance to learn. She's like, I'm going to learn. I'm like, she was relentless. She was not going to shoot a gun. And so we go to Cabela's. We buy a crappy diamond bow. And she was shooting it pretty well.
Yeah, it was all right. Mind you, we were in an apartment at the time, so we had to practice at like midnight
Yeah.
in the parking lot.
yeah.
In the parking lot, because we had no yard and we can't do it in the daylight because everyone would call the cops on us.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had to do it when everyone was sleeping under the spotlight, and we'd have our little target set up and she's shooting. So then we ended up going to a pro shop, and I was like, this bow just sucks. I'm like, let's get you. She's like, well, let's get a nice bow. I said, okay. So we buy this like decked out Bowtech carbon rose. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to teach you how to shoot this thing. I said, because if I teach you, I gave her the basics. I'm like, you are trying to impress me. For me to help you become better, I have to criticize you.
Yeah.
I said, this will make a relationship that you won't like shooting. I said, so I'm not teaching you. And so I let the pro shop guys teach her. Best decision I ever made.
Yep.
Because I saw it right away. She just wanted to impress me. But in order for her to do that, she had to hit the bullseye. I was impressed she wanted to try. But I had to criticize her. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. And she would never done it. So I said, nope, I'm not doing it. I let other people do it. And I'm not even kidding you. She was so receptive to the coaching. Within 10 shots, she was hitting the bullseye every single time. Every time. It was so amazing to watch that. I was like, whoa. And then she's just freaking bam, bam, because it was a good tuned bow. And if you're trying to get your girl into bow hunting, do not buy her a shitty bow.
No.
Because
don't give her one of yours.
Being a top level professional archer, you are still going to struggle to shoot a bad bow.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to get into playing golf, trying it out with wooden clubs is a really bad idea because you're going to be really bad. You can only be as good as the equipment that you're using. And so where you buy a crappy bow is typically it's not set up for you, which means you're not going to shoot it very well. If you get a crappy bow, if you can only afford a $100 bow, fine, but make sure it's still set up for you.
Make sure it's tuned.
It's tuned and set up. And so it was custom built right for her. The bow was obviously off the shelf, but they set it all up for perfect, and bam, bam, bam. I'm like, holy crap, she's going to be good enough to shoot turkeys. She's like, well, I'm ready to go turkey hunt. I'm like, well, we only shoot them in the head. So bow hunting turkeys, we do not shoot them in the body because they just run off. They're mutant demons. You shoot them 5 times in the body and they'll still get away. Yes. I'm like, we shoot them in the face. You either smoke them or you don't. And she's like, okay. So I get the decapper, the whole shebang.
We're like shooting the pillow into oblivion to like get
shooting a pillow
decap.
At night and shooting this decap to get it all set up for her bow. And I'm like, this is never going to happen. Like never. I mean, so.
But you never instilled that in me. Like no one told me this is going to be really difficult. This is impossible. Like I never even watched a turkey hunting video because I like didn't want to get in my own head that so many people were like, like, oh, you're never going to do this. So
and she's still vegan. So shooting a bow and arrow.
You're still not eating meat.
No.
Still, no.
Mm-mm.
So literally,
so you're like, I'll eat meat if I kill it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I go turkey hunting. We get the spot set up, and I freaking call in 4 toms. They're coming. I'm like, holy
This
crap.
never happens.
This is going to happen. And it literally comes and jumps on the decoy and starts braiding it. And it's all this chaos. These other toms are running around. I'm like, draw your bow. You know, she like draws it back. I'm like, you got to wait till its head sticks up. And she's like holding full draw. And he's pecking the back of the decoy. And this is all in video. It's really cool. And it's like breeding. And she's like 30, 40 seconds full draw. And I'm like, oh no, this is going to get really bad.
Well, we didn't practice this.
No. And I'm like, she's going to get fatigued. And she's already fatigued. I'm like, I got to get this thing to look. I'm like, meh, meh, meh. It sticks its head up. I'm like, shoot it. I swear to God, she shot that thing and hit it right in the dome. Boom, freaking smoked it.
Fuck yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, this is insane. And so it like flops over. And then I'm like, right then and there, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to marry this girl.